Okay, hello everybody. Hello. This is Sab in Paris here, and welcome to the Creative Smartphone Photography Show. I'm wearing a bottle of water today and my love mug because I think the world needs as much love as it can get at the moment, don't you? So welcome. This is the place where I talk about photography for an hour. On Thursday, I talk about words, writing for an hour. And then next Tuesday, I talk about creativity in general, productivity, and also anything like painting or things that you make with your hands. Then the next Thursday, I talk about Paris, anything and everything to do with Paris. And then the next Tuesday, it's back to photography again. So welcome. And if you want to say hello, say hello. If you want to make comments about any of the photographs that you're going to see tonight, please do. If you want to ask questions, that's even better because it gives me something to say. Otherwise, I ramble. So, a very simple show tonight. I'm going to look at my photographs, maybe one or two of yours. And I'm also going to look at the BBC website and the photos of the week. Now, I'm afraid they're probably going to be all about Ukraine, or many of them will be. But we can look at these from a photographic point of view and say what makes them very strong photographs. Why did the BBC choose these particular photos? I've got someone saying hello already, and it's Dorothy. Hello, Dorothy. Nice to have you here with me. So I'm going to go straight in to my photographs. Then I'm going to look at a few of them. Then I'm going to go over to a couple of yours. Then I'm going to look at the BBC. So this is, you might have seen some of these last week. It was 2 weeks ago, so I've actually got quite a few to show you. And sometimes I can't remember what I've shown you and what I haven't. But so this is from the 2nd of March, and seeing as it's the 15th, I reckon you haven't seen all of these. So I'm going to look at the last the middle ones, the one from the middle onwards. All right, so this one here in the middle, well, first of all, we can look at my composition here. And this composition it's kind of okay, but I'm not sure if I really made a big effort to make every photograph hang together as a group of 9. I did try to get the top 2 all right. Okay, so the slash of sky in the top left there and the slash of sky in the top right. I think I talked about those last time, so I won't talk about those again. I'm going to go right the way down to the middle. Now, this middle one, this is a photograph of a bird that wasn't there. Unfortunately, there was a bird that flew over this statue, which is near the Pompidou Centre. A bird with its wings outstretched flew over this statue, and it was an amazing echo of this statue, and I didn't click because I wasn't ready. So this photograph will forever remind me of the photograph that I didn't get. So that's the way it goes. Apart from that, I played with the colors, and there's a nice angle. The arms or the wings of this thing outstretched, almost spanning the gap in between the two buildings, seemingly, although it's not quite as big as it seems. But by getting down low, well, the statue was high, so I didn't need to get down low. By moving in close, I can make it seem much bigger than it really is. So it really does look like it spans almost the gap between these two buildings, but no, it didn't really. Here's another one. This was wandering through the Marais, which is a wonderful area. It's an area where there are lots of little shops, little boutiques. It's known for, I would say, 3 main things. It's a main Jewish quarter in Paris. There's a lot of homosexual people and shops catering to them and bars in that area as well. And there are lots of tourists. And there are lots of medieval buildings and museums and big mansions and things like that. So it's a pretty cool area, very cool area. And I was wandering down the street and I just looked into the shop window and I saw an old Jimi Hendrix album with another album on the turntable. And there's the shot. Now, the danger is it doesn't look very spectacular, doesn't necessarily tell you that it's in Paris, and Paris is my theme. But having said that, I just loved it so much. And with the story that I put along with it, I'll just put that up so that if you want to read it, you can. With the story that went along with it, I felt that it was worth. I don't put that up for long. You can always freeze the screen if you're watching the replay. Hello, if you're watching the replay. Dorothy is saying, did I see the moon in upper left? The moon in upper left, Dorothy? Let me have a look. No, I think it's just a little bit of cloud. Would have been nice if it was the moon, but I think it's a tiny bit of cloud. So yeah, little bits of nostalgia. It was in a boring shop window. So what did I do? I got in close, because otherwise there's a lot of stuff that isn't really very interesting. The most interesting thing was the record cover and the turntable. So I got in really close. I did try to get a reflection in the window of a typically French car. I think it was a 2CV that was going past, but unfortunately it didn't come out as being very obvious in the way the photograph ended up. But I did try to get a bit of local atmosphere in there. This one is a really interesting shot. It's from a station called Jaurès station, and it's got its own stained glass windows, which is very unusual for a metro station. And in the stained glass window, you can see a bunch of what look like patriotic flags, French flags, the tricolour, and also the Bastille in the outline. So this represents the storming of the Bastille for the French Revolution, 1789. It's not particularly close to the Bastille, but I think the theory is, why did they do that? Is because there's a couple of quaysides on the canal, which is near, and they are named, I think it's Valmy and Jemappes. They are named after two revolutionary battles. So that's why they put these here. I was on the train and going through the station. So there was a guy, and you can see the guy in the bottom left. Now, should I have not got the guy in the shot photographically? What do you think? Is it better with the guy in the shot, or would it have been better without the guy? And also, should I take pictures of people, because you can see his eyes. You can't exactly see who he is. But my thing is, I don't want to just take a picture of somebody else's art. So if the guy wasn't in there, it would almost just be a picture of the stained glass window. So for street photography, for me, that's not good enough. There needs to be something else, not just somebody else's art. So I've got this stained glass window, which is pretty spectacular, and what was happening when I took it. So I was on a train. There was a guy checking his phone, as almost everybody on the train is, and that's my addition to it, plus playing with the angles and stuff. I was really excited to discover that. Now here's the next one. This is coming out of a station I thought I knew, waiting for the train because it was late just for a change, and walking down the road. What did I see? Well, I saw this, and I was pretty surprised. I thought, what on earth is that? Amazing lit up building with looks like a projection of someone on the wall. And I thought, what is that? And it turns out that it's a college, which is a French sort of middle school, called a Collège Thomas Mann College. And that's him being projected. And I did see an interesting parallel between what he fled. Thomas Mann was in Germany, and he fled the Germans just before the Second World War broke out, because he was writing things saying that the Nazis were bad people. And we know what the Nazis do to bad people, that they think are bad people. And then there's this kind of parallel, make it as close a parallel or as far a parallel as you want with what's happening in Ukraine at the moment and Russia. So that was interesting. That got me my link. You see, I like to have a link to present day things in the photographs. And photographically speaking, I was going to take a picture of the building, and then I thought, that's just taking the picture of the building. Where will I be in the photograph? So I decided to throw in the little red man to add something, to not just have the building. There's a kind of a diagonal of red going down from the little red man going down to the bottom left with those very strong lines. And although there's a piece of blue sky in the top left, there is that red sort of arrowhead that points to the space. So I like it. Then moving on to this one, and this is taken from a secret place in Paris. I can't tell you where it is, but it's a hilltop that practically nobody knows about. It's even got its own vineyard. And it's not Parc du Chemin. It looks across to Sacré-Cœur, and it's just wonderful. You have to go up some little windy streets to get to it, just down a passageway. You don't even realize that it's another little bunch of streets up high, and it looks across. So I could have taken the shot without this stuff, but this is a frame. Look for frames everywhere. And I saw this bit of branch leaning over, nicely framing Sacré-Cœur. And also, the bit below this photograph wasn't very interesting. So I wanted a lot of sky. I wanted Sacré-Cœur to be completely surrounded by this lovely sky. But if it was completely empty, it would have been very empty. So I found this branch to shoot through. I shot through this bit of branch and managed to get Sacré-Cœur in the middle there. You can see it's not a very sharp photograph, but it would have been much less sharp if I hadn't tried very hard to get Sacré-Cœur in focus, because what was happening was the camera was cleverly focusing on the branch, which I didn't want. I wanted Sacré-Cœur to be in focus. So I had to tap on the screen on Sacré-Cœur and try hard to keep it focused on Sacré-Cœur, because it kept trying to defocus from Sacré-Cœur and focus on the stupid branch, which I didn't want in time to get the photograph. And you can see some of those lovely roofs of Paris as well. Sacré-Cœur down in the bottom left, which is a nice compositional thing. Don't have it right in the middle, or have it off to the side somewhere, towards a corner. Gives a much stronger composition. Okay, so that was those. Now I'm going to pop over to the Creative Smartphone group, and again, I'm still trying to get people to contribute things, but I've got one or two photographs to talk about. Let's see. This is from Thomas. So this is a really impressive one, and he says, what does he say? He says, I have snapshooted this today, and I was playing with it. I've shared it in some other groups already, but after all, I can just say, I love it. Loves it for many reasons. And let me get rid of my thing, which is getting in the way of his wonderful photograph. That's very interesting. I can see a roof. I can see what looks like a net curtain, and I can see a plant. And I can also see something very strange in the bottom left. Can't quite work out what that is. If you're watching, what is that? It looks like it's distorted somehow. So it's an interesting photograph. Yeah, he says he loves it for many reasons, and I can imagine you do. I love the way the edge, some sort of red, is on the edge of these leaves. I know these sort of leaves, they have quite serrated edges. So maybe for some reason they've caught the sun, or they've caught the red of the roof somehow. I don't know how that's happened, but it makes it very interesting. So thanks for sending that in, Thomas, and keep them coming. He wasn't sure about sharing it and such like. Just share it. Sharing is caring. There might be another one. That was me doing an ask. So I asked people, what do you think? The colourful one or the black and white one? This was just a bit of fun. I'd already published the colourful one, but I also loved the black and white one. So what differences can you see here? Which one do you prefer? If you're watching, which one do you prefer? If you're watching the replay, which one do you prefer and why? Now, you can say you like them both, or you like each one for different reasons, which is fair enough. But why do you like them? This is to think about why. If you think about why you like shots, this can move you in the direction of the style of photography that you should maybe do more of. The black and white is always classic, isn't it? I've made this very contrasty, very harsh. It's a hard-hitting shot. It's not a relaxing, soft, dreamy shot. And that's what I wanted to do in this case. But I also had another reason for doing that, and that was the flag in the top right. This is it's not an official flag of a country, but it's the sort of Corsican national flag, as it were. It's not a nation, but it is an island. Corsica is an island. And they do have a strong independent movement there, independence movement. And actually, if you look at the news almost right now, if it wasn't dominated by Ukraine, we'd be seeing street scenes of burning stuff in the street, attacking the local town hall, all on the island of Corsica, which people go on holiday to. So they have this strong nationalist flavor there. This is the flag, and in the color shot, it's much less pronounced. It's much softer in the color one, and it's nice. And but I wanted one as well where it was really hard hitting, and that's what black and white gets you if you then bump up the contrast. You'll notice that the rainbow windmill has completely lost all its tone. I mean, of course, it's lost its color, but it's lost its tone as well. So I know the homosexual community, gay community use rainbow colors often to symbolize. So this could be that, couldn't it? Could be that. Bottom left, traditional old Marais lamp. We've got some Corsican nationalists perhaps up on the same floor, and then some sort of windsock thing. Don't know what it is. So with the sun brushing the top of the building, isn't that beautiful? So up to you to tell me whether you like the black and white one. Well, a lot of you have already in the places I put it, so thank you for that. Now, Jean contributed a couple of shots, one in black and white, and I really loved this, and I thought this is definitely going to be my favorite until I saw her color one, and I thought, oh, that's really good as well. There's something about this and the shadows, it's just amazing. And then, so bear that in mind. And then she also contributed this version. Now, she said this version was the original version without really playing with the colors. So you can see it's a sort of dark brownish, beigeish sort of place. Could give a sort of old feel to it. Could be in some sort of grimy cafe with the ceiling with lots of old smoke on it, except it's been a long time since people have smoked in cafes in Paris. So I'm not sure which I prefer now. I love the old feel of the sepia type one, but this one is really hard hitting. This one maybe moves towards more of an abstract composition because the shadows become much more prominent and the lamps become less obvious that they're lamps. Whereas here, it's really quite clear that it's lamps with shadows. I'm not sure if I'm repeating myself, but here I have more of a feeling of a cozy cafe. Okay, I'm not sure if we had any others there. So that was me sharing the composition of the week. Why don't you try putting your photographs together? Think along the lines of photographs that will go well together, and it can be really nice. So you could just decide, I'm going to do a series of black and white photographs, or a series of photographs looking up. For example, my two here on the top left and the top right could well go into a series on looking up. So could this one here. You know that you're looking up when you can see the top of the building and not the bottom, and a bit of sky. This gives it a feeling that, you know, okay, the theme is looking up. So there's a challenge for you. Take a series of photographs which all hang together well. And I've done challenges, 5-day challenges in the photography group along those lines. This was from last week, but I like it so much, I'm going to show it again. It's from Béatrice in Paris, or in Vincennes, and she went on holiday. She went on holiday for a couple of days to Antwerp in Belgium. And she took this fabulous photo, absolutely superb photograph on a lovely street with those traditional houses with those they're quite narrow houses, but they're quite high, with that lovely traditional triangle roof. Now in Holland, I know that there's often a hook coming out of the top of the building there, which allows people to bring up furniture and put it in the windows because the staircase is too steep to take sofas and things like that and wardrobes upstairs. But maybe That's not quite the case, or maybe they have lifts now, because I can't see any hooks there. I love the treatment. I love what you've done to it. You've played around with the colors. Somehow, I don't know, maybe softened it, then brought the colors back. It's just a wonderful treatment. I love this sort of blue moving to turquoise, this lovely rich orangey red on the right, and the much more closer to yellowy orange on the left. You've got the figure top left, very strong. And I love the fact that you've got a sliver down the left-hand side. It's not in the middle. There's a sliver of that wall, enough to have all of the statue. Then you've got this lovely curve coming down, complementary curve coming down from the top right, moving down. You imagine there is a curve, although it's very spiky, moving down to the bottom left. And it's just a wonderful composition. Love everything about that. Okay. So I'm not sure if I've had, yeah, that was me on my own page doing the photo comparison, which is something I think I should do more of. Now, I'm going to go over to the BBC site now, and I'm going to look for some photographs from their photographs of the week. Now, these are normally pretty impressive photographs. You go to bbc.com. And then you go to menu news. I think news normally does it. And then more, and then in pictures. So you can see this is a wonderful page. This is a superb shot. I haven't seen any of these before. I'm discovering them with you. So please let me know if you're watching the replay or if you're watching live, which ones you like and why. So this is not actually a depressing photograph. Hooray. So let's stay on this for a while. I don't know about you, but I've been kind of almost guiltily binge watching sort of reports on the Ukraine. And I'm very uncomfortable with it because it's too close to watching a series. I feel like I'm almost watching a series on TV. Tune in tomorrow for the next exciting episode. And yet these are real people being bombed. So it's very an uneasy experience. I don't know how you feel about it. Anyway, so well, I was born in Scotland. This says powerful aurora lights up the sky above Scotland. My granddaughter is called Aurora, which is nice. And this is a classic landscape shot where there's more detail in the sea. The sky is much fuzzier, and the sea is much sharper. So what have they done? They've made the sea a sliver at the bottom. It's only a fifth of the shot is the sharp sea, and then the big 4/5 is fuzzier, so it's not as sharp in your face, but the colors are really impressive. So that's a great technique. They've got the horizon straight as well. I see a lot of landscape photographs where the horizon's slightly off. I take most of my shots at ridiculous, strange angles. But you have to look at it and think, yes, the photographer meant to have it at an angle. If you have your horizon just a little bit off horizontal, people just think you can't hold the camera straight or you've been drinking. So here, it's a small thing, but I thought I'd mention it. It's very nice, beautiful shot, lovely sea. Look at the rich greens in the sea there. And then on either side, almost, at least on the right-hand side, you've got this bank of cloud, probably, coming down, leading into the middle. And then the other one, not so much. And then this kind of raining curtains of Aurora Borealis, which is splendid. I've never seen the Northern Lights, and one of my dreams is to see them one day. Okay. So I'm going to go down to the photos of the week, and it's down at the bottom. So let me take, the latest ones, and possibly the ones before it. Week in pictures. Yep, this is it. All right. So watch out, because it's photographs probably of Ukraine, and there might be some disturbing stuff here. So if that's not what you want to see, probably come back in 5 minutes. A selection of powerful news photographs taken around the world this week. As I said, very, very strong photographs. I'm reading what it says, but the first thing that struck me was obviously the photograph. An elderly woman helped across a destroyed bridge, fleeing the city. So the thing that strikes me immediately about this photograph, it's the frailty of the little lady. You know, she's made to look smaller, even smaller than she is, by being encloaked in this blanket. And then the look on her face is just, it's very, you know, what does it say? I mean, it's whether it is or not, you know, we imagine things in photographs sometimes, but we imagine fear, distress, disbelief of what's happening, confusion. And then the other touch, of course, is the man with his arm around her and their hands clasped. Very strong photograph. Now, they could have zoomed in more, you know, made it more in your face. So literally got rid of the right-hand side up until his hand and maybe cropped the bottom a bit until just below the red there, or even cropped a lot of the left. But they've decided to keep it that way, I guess, to not to focus too much on the person, but on the situation. It's a photograph of two people, one helping the other, and extremely strong photograph. Wonderful, terrible and wonderful. I often wonder about photographers, you know, in war situations. I think, shouldn't they be sort of helping people to live instead of, you know, taking photographs? And yet they get a message out which we wouldn't see otherwise, and sometimes they get killed, as has already happened in Ukraine. Here's another one. Okay, so this is Vladimir Putin chairing a Russian Security Council meeting via video link. He encouraged foreign volunteers to join the fight against Ukrainian forces. So looking at this photograph, a lot of photographs of Vladimir Putin recently make him look very alone. There was the famous photograph of Emmanuel Macron and Vladimir Putin and the long table. I can probably find it in about 2 seconds. Let me try. Putin, Macron, long table, images. This is how to find a photo fast. There it is. Let's see if I can make it big. No, I can't. That is, yeah. So, yeah, I can't actually, I mean, I could, but that one's bigger. I mean, this was, that's not Emmanuel Macron, the French president, someone else. But this image is so striking. It's so weird and wild and wonderful. And if you know the story behind it, it speaks even more. In terms of Putin's fear of getting coronavirus, and what will happen if Putin is off the scene for a little while? I mean, you know, maybe things might explode in Russia if Putin gets really ill. And when he comes back, they won't want him anymore. So he seems to be very, very afraid of this. So he's keeping a huge distance between himself and whoever he's talking to. In the case of Emmanuel Macron, it was doubly symbolic. I'm just trying to get a photo I can blow up more. There it is. I mean, what is the message here? The message is there's distance between these two people. They may be seeming to see eye to eye, but it's an awful long way in between their eyes. So it's almost ludicrous. It's almost like a joke, the size of this table between them. And I think it's far, far more than just fear of catching coronavirus. So that was a pretty impressive photograph. Any comments on this as we go through? Feel free to let me know. Yeah, so this one again, it's him seeming very alone, isolated maybe, although we don't know really, but if you see all the things that are happening with him, he's often way away from everybody else. They're sitting at a huge distance. And you also see fear on their faces of the people who are with him, even in his closest circle, the fear. And we saw some situations recently where someone had to speak, and it almost obviously was staged. And the guy was trembling and another guy was sweating. And it's not very comfortable. So these photographs, they speak to me of discomfort, lack of ease. Okay, here's the next one. So this is Ukraine president addressing the UK House of Commons via video link. Okay, so you've got a huge number of people here watching. The House of Lords packed the public galleries and listened through translation headsets as Mr. Zelensky told of his country's pain each day. A war we did not start progressed. And yeah, this is an impressive photograph. It's taken from up high, and I was going to say, I was guessing this is where the big screen is, but then I can see two screens on the left and right there. So maybe that's not the case. But the position of this, I guess taken from a gallery similar to the one we can see over on the other side, it's perfectly symmetrical photograph. You know, literally, look at if you measured the distance on the left there of that banister, that railing and that railing, and if you drew a line down the middle, it would probably go through the clock. So extremely, is it? I'm just looking at those lights. You see the way those lights go? And I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's perfectly. Anyway, no, I'm looking at it straight on now. It's not 100% symmetrical. In other words, you couldn't draw a line down the middle and be a perfect mirror image. And that's because the person who took it isn't exactly in the middle of the opposite balcony to this one. Why am I saying this? Why does it matter? Because these are things to consider when you're taking photographs. If you want a perfectly symmetrical photograph, you've got to be perfectly in the middle of whatever it is you're taking, which is symmetrical. Otherwise, it won't be. And you often don't do that. You often do not want a symmetrical photograph. You know, if you're taking a picture of a road looking up high, as we saw earlier, like in, which one? In this shot here. And in Beatrice's shot. Now, I didn't put myself in the middle of the street to take this photograph. I put myself right up close to the edge of the wall on the left. And so that's very often what you would do. In this case, no. And this talks about solidity, power, unity, people standing together when you see this. And it's all of the House of Commons, you know, people who viciously oppose each other. They're all there. They're all unified in somehow supporting what's happening in Ukraine. So yeah, I get why they took that photograph and did it like that. This is Ukrainian dancers. There's a good example of not at all symmetrical. So not only have they got the stage, but they've in the third on the left, the third of the photograph on the left, it's people enjoying the show. So that's it's often very good to not only show something, but show people's reactions to it. And then the person who's looking at the photograph can put themselves in the shoes of the people who are watching, and you feel closer to it. And it's the Ukrainian ballet, Kiev City Ballet. This is in Paris. This is in Paris, my city. Okay, let's have another couple. A woman participates in a rally during International Women's Day celebrations in Bogota, Colombia. Wow, that's impressive. I think she's got about 9 eyes. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 in the middle, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 is my favorite number. And she's got, there were a lot of articles and a lot of posts on social media on Women's Day. And some interesting discussions as well, you know, the usual thing like, why isn't there a Men's Day? And then someone said, but there is an International Men's Day. And then, you know, various discussions on why, you know, is it, if there's an International Women's Day, does that mean that on the other 364 days, we don't have to worry about women? Or, you know, there's all these interesting questions come up. So the background is nice and fuzzy. It focuses on this woman's amazing facial makeup and head stuff. So where is it? It's in Bogota, Colombia. Although she doesn't look like a traditional sort of Bogota Colombian older lady. I mean, she's not an older lady, but yeah. Okay. All right. Let's have one more. So this is the discovery of a ship not seen since it was crushed by ice and sank in the Weddell Sea, 1915. Amazing. So this isn't so much. I mean, yeah, in terms of photography, they've got in close. They've filled the frame with it. God, can you imagine? So many years ago, over 100 years ago, someone was at the helm there, steering away, or maybe not. Maybe it just got stuck and they escaped. Did they escape? I'm not sure. Okay, let's see if the next one is worth talking about. Yes, let's talk about this. Then I'll move back to finish with mine. Okay, so what is the first thing that strikes you in this photograph? Answers on a postcard, answers in the comments, or if you're watching the replay, what is the first thing that strikes you? Now, taking photographs of colorful food markets it's a classic tourist shot, isn't it? Like travel shot, I should say. Most tourists wouldn't get a shot like this. They'd probably get something a little bit more touristy. So what has the photographer done to make this a really powerful shot? There's a human being. The human being is linked to the product. So he's probably selling this stuff. So that's the link with the product. So he's not just another tourist. He is in the middle, slap bang in the middle of the shot. So a really strong central image. If you look at the colored spices and stuff, they seem to lead the eye. They seem to point towards him. You see, they kind of go like this. They're leading you towards the guy in the middle. There seems to be an angle, don't you think? Somehow they seem to be pointing towards him. Maybe it's because it was taken on a fisheye lens, or a really wide angle lens. The bottom quarter of the frame is more or less just these 4 huge sacks of colored powder. It's not spices, it's colored powder for the festival that's coming up in India when they throw powder at each other. It absolutely fills the bottom quarter. The second quarter up is, again, it's an echo, but there's more detail. The first quarter is powder. The second quarter is the sacks holding the powder, which again are interesting. It's sort of like the first thing. There's one level, then there's the next one in, then there's the guy behind them, and then there's another. I guess the last quarter we could say is in the distance, buildings in the distance and the sky. The second quarter down is people in the mid distance who are in the fair or in the market. Then coming closer again is this guy getting stuff out of this sack, and then right here you've got yet another. I can't remember what it is in English. We call it les plans, premier plan, deuxième plan, troisième plan. So like the first plan. We don't say it. It's not English. The foreground, the background, and the midground. So it's a really nicely constructed photograph. There's nothing that gets in the way, like a trash can or some stupid tourist, taking a photograph. There's a guy on his phone there, okay, but still looks like an Indian guy. So, and the colors are just amazing. So a really strong photograph there. What do you think? What do you think of that? All right, I'm going to go back to my photographs again, and I'm going to jump into my latest photographs. So you haven't seen these, definitely haven't seen these. Hang on. Yeah, I haven't had time to update these, but these are new photographs. So these are my last 6 photographs. This one, because it's the number ends with a 1, it's a self-portrait. So I do self-portraits. It's a project, an ongoing project. I hope it will go on for the rest of my life. And every 10 days, I publish a self-portrait. My photographic challenge is don't make every single self-portrait completely different to all the others. It's a challenge. That might sound like a huge challenge. And yet, no, because you can be really inventive, especially if you wander around. You include your environment in the shots. And so that could encourage you to travel. Having said that, I'm not talking about snaps of me in front of a million different things. I try to make every shot some sort of, interaction, some sort of message, or me interacting with what's behind. So here in Paris, I think again in the Marais, was this bunch of posters, a big smiley, and they say, "Prenez le temps de sourire." Take the time to smile. Take time to smile. So I did. And this kind of gave me an idea for a series of little squares that I've done, which I'm going to put up in the streets of Paris. Let me show you. So this is part of something I do. I put little squares of mine from my paintings. I paint on 3x3 squares. So it's a grid of 3x3 equals 9 squares, which makes a square. But when I put my paintings up in Paris, I put only one square at a time. So this is an example of one square from a 3x3 square painting. In fact, I've put normally they continue without the same thing on each one. But because it's for the streets of Paris, I put a smiley face on each square, because they will be separate, but it's obviously not smiley. So it's to say, now it's not political as such, although you might think it is. It's actually not really political, it's humanistic. It's basically, I'm sad because people are dying that don't need to be dying. And I take my inspiration, as I'm a great, the great artist that I am, I take my inspiration for human faces from smileys. And well, have a look at the photograph where I am there. I'm walking down the street and there's 50 smileys on the wall. So I'm going to add some more. There's another couple of versions. Yep. So a sad situation where people where I am in France, it's practically on my doorstep. Well, it's a few countries away. There's Germany, and then there's Poland, and then there's Ukraine, and people are being murdered in Ukraine. And that's how I feel about it. And I think smileys do a pretty good job of allowing us to show a range of emotions. That's why I use smileys all the time at the ripe old age of 56. So there's that. Now this one. Now this is exactly the same thing I said for my self-portraits. I call it creative disintegration. I'm watching myself slowly wrinkle away and drop off the planet creatively. Same thing with my muse. The Eiffel Tower is my muse. She follows me everywhere. And I have a project, and I recommend you have a project like this as well. Take something you really like, which means a lot to you. It could be a building or a monument or somebody else, or an animal. It could be anything. Take something that is going to be around for a long, long time and photograph it regularly. It's a bit like Monet. Excuse me. Monet, the great French impressionist. Well, yeah, impressionist, I guess you could say. He he painted things many, many times in different light. So if I look for Monet cathedral Rouen images, so straight away you can see a whole bunch of images, and many of them are different. I think there's one somewhere where it shows, this one here, for example. This one is quite nice. How big is it? Yeah. Here you can see that he's put himself in the same position, but the light changes. So he's painted it, which was the olden days equivalent of photography. He painted it again and again in different lights, and somehow he didn't seem to tire of it. And although I need to read up on why he did it exactly, so I'm not making things up. But the challenge is to try and capture the same thing, but in a different way. Now, he's changed the light. Apart from that, it's pretty similar, but the light has changed. For me and for us, if you choose to accept my challenge, with photography, we have all sorts of things we can do. So the Eiffel Tower is my muse. I use it to inspire me in the city that I call my creative inspiration. And my challenge is to publish on a regular basis photographs of the Eiffel Tower, none of which resemble any of the others. So in this one, I've gone really quite crazy. I've done something, very unusual for me. Normally, I don't play around with photographs quite this much, but I decided to do something a bit different. You see, I'm trying to be different. So I can honestly say I have never published a photograph of the Eiffel Tower like this. Absolutely not. First time I've done this kind of playing around with it. And the next time I publish a photograph, I will have to have found something else that makes the next photograph unique. It's a really good discipline, really forces you to be creative. And you get a great collection of photographs building up over the weeks, months, and before you know it, years. I promise you, years will come before you expect them to. Now, this one in the top right, I found in the same place I told you before, that little hidden hamlet up on a hill that hardly anyone knows about, looking across to Sacré-Cœur. And I've come across this excuse me, getting tired here. Came across this. You never know what you're going to find. That's the great thing. And this is a good reason to look up. Admittedly, this isn't a high up roof. It was just a little bit higher than head height. But look what's on it. There's a massive fight between a cat and a mouse. And that's what I took a photograph of. Isn't that cool? I slammed the mouse down in the bottom left-hand corner to make it look, like it had been cornered, with the cat, the mean big cat, coming towards it, stalking down that nasty slope, which also gives you the feeling that the mouse is about to fall off at any minute. So that was nice. And this is going to complement a real kitty that I also photographed in the same place a couple of minutes later, but a real cat this time. But that is going to go in the bottom left, I think. So I haven't arrived at the bottom left. These are from last time. So I will show you that next time. The middle row, I haven't actually published the middle and the right yet, but I will show you these. So on the left is probably the ugliest car I have ever seen in my life. Having said that, it's kind of cute in a kind of cartoony way. So there it is. It looks a bit more like a washing machine than a car. There's Invalides behind it, the amazing dome. So you can see we're in Paris, and I've tried to put a bit of an angle there. And on the other photograph, it's actually got the dome as well, but in the top left, pointing in the same direction. I mean, they're both pointing in towards each other, as it were, if you see. I didn't do that on purpose, really. Or did I? Maybe I did. I can't remember. Yeah, maybe I did. So that one, I haven't played around with it too much. I just brightened it up a bit. And it's funny, it's surrounded by all these more, well, I was going to say more modern cars. This is extremely modern. It's electric. It doesn't take up much space. It's, it's new, pretty new. So it's actually extremely modern. I really meant to say surrounded by cars that don't look like washing machines or tumble dryers. But this is a good move because it's an electric car. And there's about 3 electric car companies. One is called Free to Move. Another one is called Share Drive or something. Another one's called Zitty, City, like city, but with a Z. Maybe they don't know what zits are in French. So it's kind of these things, you're seeing them more and more often around Paris. So that's a good thing. And it's free parking as well. They're these little hire cars, you can take them just for a few minutes, drop them off anywhere. You drop them off in any parking space. You don't even have to pay for electricity, and you don't have to pay for parking. So they're catching on. They are catching on. There's thousands of them now, apparently, thousands around Paris. They don't have these places where they sit officially. You just put them in any public parking space. This is interesting. It's an exhibition by a guy who does stenciling. His artwork is stenciling. I don't really know how he does it because it looks so amazing. I don't know how many stencils he has to have to get this effect, but it's amazing. And it's Churchill. And it's for the Musée de l'Ordre de la Libération, which I had the pleasure of discovering this weekend. I went in there, and it's a load of stuff about the French Resistance. There's old uniforms, there's medals, there's weapons, and lots and lots of signs and flags and books. And there are also there's a special section on the deportation and the people who were sent to concentration camps. And oh my god! And some of there's a uniform, like a striped uniform from the people who were in the concentration camps. Rather than having harrowing photographs, there is a few, but not many. They've actually decided to display drawings that were made by people in the concentration camps. I'll probably show some in later photographs. And in a way, they're almost stronger. You know, somebody actually in the concentration camp found the strength to sketch other people in the concentration camp. So they decided to go for that rather than the more, really quite difficult to look at photographs, real photographs. Okay, so this guy, this artist, street artist called 𝗓215 or 𝗓215, he decorates these electricity boxes and also letterboxes around Paris. So he got permission to decorate a whole bunch of these boxes around Invalides and in the 7th arrondissement. And they're really great, really excellent. You see the letterboxes, they have these on, just wonderful, really great. And I will finish my photo. No, shall I come back to that in a second? And let's have a look at, let's just see if there's any other interesting photographs. Okay, this one. These are wall photographs. It's really quite hard to believe that we're looking at war in Europe photographs. This makes me think, is it the Blitz in London in 1944 or whenever it was? And no, it's in Ukraine, which, we might have gone on holiday to. You might have gone on holiday to if this hadn't happened. Perfectly normal Western capital. This isn't Kiev. This is the second largest city, Kharkiv. And so in terms of the photograph, the figure extremely central, surrounded by this stuff, including and he's walking past just a wrecked car. So in terms of war photography is, it's a little bit different to landscape photography or even normal street photography, because the thing you're photographing is so exceptional. It's less necessary, perhaps, to use, extreme photographic techniques. In a way, you can just point and shoot, and the photograph is still hard hitting. So that's an interesting point, actually. It's just occurred to me. Okay, Ukrainian refugees queue to apply for residency permits to the Czech Republic. Oh, look at this shot. That's a powerful shot. You remember when I told you about this one here, where the front quarter sets the scene? This is what it's about. It's a festival where people throw powder around, colored powder. This, if you look at this, the bottom quarter, it's the same. There are two big backs with police written on the back of them. That sets the scene. What is happening, why they are there, you have to look further into the photograph. And they frame, in this kind of V shape, they frame a little kid in red who seems to be the center of the photograph. You've got other people doing their thing. This girl's, asking a question or something, but right in the middle, this is the innocence of childhood. Clutching a teddy bear, let's really go for the heartstrings here. Clutching a little soft toy, not knowing what's going on, surrounded by all these adults in various states of, distress. There's the little kid in red. The fact that the kid is in red with a little kid's toy in amongst, this serious police and all these stressed adults, it brings home, and the small size of the kid as well, I know children are small, but the point is you're concentrating on a specific point, which is stronger than all of the rest of the photograph combined. But in a way, you need the rest of the photograph, which is kind of anonymous. It's just bunches of faces and dark clothes. And then you've got this strong point of interest because it's surrounded by, less bright, less intense people. And the kid is just looking. The kid isn't there to present its passport. It's just there. It's looking. It's thinking, what's happening? Very strong photograph. Okay, one or two more. Okay, looking at the photograph, I did look at the caption, but looking at the photograph on its own, we've got an echo of a theme. There's the echo of the blue and yellow of the Ukrainian flag. She's looking up. The looking up often indicates maybe hope or some sort of faith. We don't know. Maybe she's watching someone speak or something like that, or someone's just shouted. But because she's isolated, we don't know. So then we can imagine, what does it mean looking up? Surrounded, the context is double. She's surrounded by the flags and she has it on her cheek. We know the situation. She's looking up. She seems quite calm. Maybe a feeling of hope, possibly, or praying, who knows. So she's taking part in a protest against Russia's invasion of Ukraine in Lisbon, in Portugal. Yeah, so it's a strong image because it's a strong. The lady's face is strong. It's backdropped with the colors twice, and then on her face, and her hair not completely coiffed, suggesting that the situation isn't as calm as it seems. Okay, let's have a look at one more, and this is still the UK. It's the same thing. Okay, so I won't look at that again. Let's have one more. Okay, floods, not about the Ukraine. So there's a guy paddling past a submerged bus on a flooded suburb of Brisbane in Australia. It suffered severe flooding after it's been battered by torrential rain, leaving at least a dozen people dead and damaging thousands of properties. Yeah, so it would be a nice idyllic scene if the guy was on a river without the bus, but there's the bus, and that changes everything. Why the hell is there a bus in the middle of a river? Because it isn't a river, it's a street. So it's a pretty cool photograph. They've left a lot of space at the bottom, but then that gives us space for the reflections as well, and space for us to reflect as well, I guess. Poor Australia, it's either being battered by storms or destroyed by bushfires or eating people's legs with sharks in the sea. So, not to mention the spiders. So, I don't know. I'm not sure if Australia is such an attractive place as it used to be. But anyway. Okay, I'm going to finish with my shot. My last one. And it's this one in the middle. It's taken from inside Invalides, which is the place where Napoleon is buried. It has his tomb there, and I was just thinking of a story of Napoleon. I think the story is that his casket, his coffin, where he is there's something about it being up high. Is it up high? So that people would always have to look up to him. No one would be able to look down on him because it's up in the air. So to look up, you always have to look up to him to see his coffin. Something like that. I have to verify that. For some reason, I thought it was sunken, and maybe it's sunken with another similar reason. But I think, or maybe it's it's sunken so people have to bow their heads in reverence. When they look at him, they have to bow their head. It's something like that. There's a story about him being really short, but he wasn't that short. Apparently he was, I mean, I'm average height for a man, and he was just a tiny bit shorter than me. So, and people were much shorter in those days. And this last one, I bring you courtesy of the bunnies of the lawn of Les Invalides. And you can see them. So I've got a bit of a competition. I'm going to say to you, how many bunnies can you see here? So there's one there. There's one there. That might be one there to the left of the flagpole. That's definitely one. And here in the distance, I can't blow it up for you, but just there on the right-hand side, there's a couple with definite bunny ears sticking up. And the funny thing about this photograph, I realized, is that these two hedges are a little bit like bunny ears. So there's a couple of bunny ears and there's a couple of big bunny ears. And the flag, which is really impressive, nicely backdropped by that uniform. Well, I mean, I've done my thing with the houses. They're actually horizontal. But I love these sort of jiggledy roofs, not all exactly the same size. And the way this flag is flying. Now, I had to take a lot of photographs to get this flag right, because it's not your normal French flag. It's got a very special cross. Is it the cross of the Lorraine, the Croix de Lorraine, which is, I think it was the symbol of the French resistance, this double-crossed cross. So you wouldn't believe how difficult it was in a gentle breeze to get the flag flying in an attractive shape, plus have the two bars of the cross. Very, very often you could only see one of them. So there it is. That's my little French flag, shot from Invalides, just outside the Musée de l'Ordre de la Libération, and which I visited on Sunday, with some rabbits into the bargain. Okay, so that's it. If you would like to join my photography group and contribute your own photographs, please do. It's facebook.com/groups/creative smartphone photography. And you can contribute any photographs you like with a small commentary, and we will appreciate them. There will also be a weekly theme. So war and peace, you see war and peace there. So I did talk about war quite a lot and a little bit of peace. So I'll change the theme each 2 weeks, and you can post on the theme or you can post not on the theme, whatever you like. On Thursday, so in 2 days' time, I will be doing a similar show about words, and that's linked to the creative blog and article writing Facebook group. Next Tuesday, in 1 week, I'll be doing a similar show about creativity, productivity itself, and looking at created works of art, for example, mine and yours. So please share what you've created recently, if you want, in that group, the Infinite Creativity Now group. And finally, last but not least, on the Thursday, not this Thursday in 2 days, in 9 days, it's my Paris show. I spend an hour talking about the weird and wonderful marvels of my favorite city, Paris, through my photography, but also through anecdotes and through other people's photography. So join me on that. Join the group if you like. It's the group is Paris Set Me Free, and enjoy Paris. That's it, folks. Thanks for joining me. That's been Sab in Paris, giving you another hour of photographic chat and rambling. And I'll see you again, same time, same place in 2 weeks' time, if not before. Bye-bye for now, and happy snapping.